Okay, everybody, we're going to look today at how to use metric units for length. You'll notice throughout this through this course of study that we're talking about SI or metric units. The SI system is known as the metric system, and that's what we use mostly here in Canada. If I scroll down here a little bit, you'll see these are a lot of units you're familiar with. You've probably been converting these for years between, meters, kilometers, centimeters, millimeters. Today, one of the biggest things is essentially how to go between one unit to another. You see, in a further lesson, what we're going to do is go between imperial and metric. And imperial is more what they might use, well, commonly in the United States, and that's in inches, feet, etc., miles. The biggest thing here, what I want you to notice, is they consider the meter to be kind of the middle, the basis, okay? And of course, in this direction here, if you're going up, okay, essentially you're going to a larger unit. If you go down, you're going into a smaller unit. I mean, there's no doubt, if you think of it, if you look at a kilometer, okay, and a meter, compare a kilometer and a meter. There's no doubt that a kilometer is a much larger unit, okay, than a meter, so larger and smaller. And you can use this table to help you convert in between. What I want you to know is that if you are, let's say, given a unit here, let's say you have hectometers, and you want to go into millimeters, of course you're going down. When you go down, that is going to be a multiplication conversion. If you were in centimeters, let's say, and want to go into, let's go decimeters, that would be a division question, okay? A division. I should get rid of that 10 for now, sorry. So basically, everyone, if you're in a smaller unit and you want to go to a larger unit, you must divide. So if you are in a smaller unit and you want to go into a larger unit, you must divide. If you are in a bigger unit, even right here, let's say you're in centimeters. If you're in centimeters and you want to go to a smaller unit, okay, what are you going to do? You see, that's how this works out. You have to multiply them, okay? So again, if you are in a smaller unit and you want to go to a bigger unit, you must divide. If you are in a bigger unit, I'll do this one. If you're in a bigger unit and you want to go here, you must multiply. Now, to show you basically how this works, it's not too bad. Let me just erase this mess I have here. Okay, that should go away. I'll go back to the pen. The way to do this, everyone, is to realize that between all of these little notches, it's a factor of 10, okay? So 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. And remember, if you want to go up, like I said in the last little bit, you are dividing. And if you want to go down, you are multiplying. So if you wanted to, let's say, let's go kilometers to meters, okay, so you want to go here, how would you get there? You would have to multiply by 10, multiply by 10, multiply by 10. So another way of saying 10 times 10 times 10 is actually 1,000. So you would take your kilometers, multiply it by 1,000, that would give you your meters. If, let's say, you were in centimeters, and you wanted to go into meters, well, that's still going to be 10 times 10 is 100. But remember, this time we're going up, so we would have to divide by 100, okay? It simply is a matter of how many tens do you have, and are you going to divide or are you going to multiply? I'll show you some very basic examples here, and this will really help us wrap our heads around this. Number 1 here, it says circle the larger unit in each pair, centimeters or meters. Well, remember, as you go up the table, that's your larger. So, of course, a meter is larger, kilometer is larger, decimeter is larger, and a decimeter is larger here as well. Okay, so how many centimeters are in 5 meters? How many centimeters in 5 meters? There's some different ways of doing this. What I might do right now is I'm just going to go back to the top here, and I'll try to make this make a little bit more sense for us all. I'm thinking about this, and there's multiple ways of actually figuring this out. Depends on how much math you actually want to use. So let's see here. What you could do is you could think to yourself, okay, how do we go between meters and centimeters? All right. So what you would look at right here is you would say, okay, in this question right here, centimeters and 5 meters. Okay. So we are looking at this connection right here, here. Okay. So what we know is if we had one, let's take 1 meter. Let's say we had 1 meter. Okay. How would we figure out how many centimeters we have? Well, we would go 10 and 10. And as you know, 10 times 10 is 100. So now we are going down, everybody. So do we multiply or do we divide? Because we're going down, we are going to multiply. So if you have 1 meter, we're going to multiply that by 100 to tell us how many centimeters we have. So 1 meter is 100 centimeters. You could do that way. And then what you could think to yourself is, well, we have 5 meters in this question. You could set up a bit of a ratio. Okay, I'll put this for you here in a second. You might like this version. You see in the question they gave us 5 meters, so you put that on top here as well. And you think to yourself, okay, 1 times what gives me 5? Well, times 5. I do the same at the bottom. Well, that's going to give me 500. So the answer is, of course, 5 meters is 500 centimeters. How else could we do this? Maybe there's an easier way. See, that's the whole thing here. I'm sitting here and thinking to myself, what's the best way? And it really depends on how comfortable you are with math, which is one of the difficulties of me not sitting there in front of you. It's like I could show you probably 3 different ways, and one of them is going to work best for you. Here is another way you could do this. You could take your table. You see the 5 meters right here? You could put 5 meters right here. And they want that converted into centimeters. And you could go like this. There's 1 notch. Now remember, this is a 10 and a 10. And because we're going down, we have to multiply. So that's like saying 5 times 10 times 10. A shorter way, well, what is 10 times 10, everybody? That's 100. So that now, essentially, we've taken our 5 meters, and by multiplying it by 100, we now have 500 centimeters. You might like that way better. It certainly does seem a little bit quicker. Again, it's just based on how on the math that you want to do, basically, okay? Oops, that's the wrong one, sorry. I'll get rid of this, and we will try the next question. So I'll go back to my pen. Okay, question 3, how many meters are in 8.5 kilometers? Well, if you want to do this the easy way, let's put 8.5 up here. I'll put it right here, 8.5. And they want that in 2 meters. So we have to go 1, 2, 3. That's a 10, a 10, and a 10. So that's like saying 8.5. Now, because we are going down, so times 10 times 10 times 10. Another way of writing that would be 8.5 times 1,000. So if you have 8.5 kilometers, how many meters do you have? It should be 8,500. And I'll just put that in here. Okay? There's multiple ways of doing this. I hope that one of these is making sense to you. And of course, I could use a ratio for this, but I think this version works out pretty well. Let's flip to the next page here. Here's an example. Paula rides her bike to her friend's house 4.5 kilometers away. She could also run, taking 1 meter strides. How many strides? Will the number of meters be greater or less? Well, if you look back at your table, okay, remember we're going from kilometers to meters. So is it going to be a higher or lower number? Well, it should get bigger. Because if you think of it, if we are in, remember, how do we go from kilometers to meters? There's a 10, a 10, and a 10. And each time, remember, because we're going down, we are multiplying. So that's like saying whatever number of kilometers we have to multiply it by 1,000. So it should be greater. Okay, it should be greater. Okay, if 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, how can you use this relationship to figure out the number of meters in 4.5 kilometers? Multiple ways of doing this here, everyone. I'll show you one way. We have, this is one version. If you have 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters, okay, you could do this ratio approach. Now this is 4.5 kilometers. So can you see how the kilometers are on top here? You have to do the same thing right here. Put it on top on this side. Now how 1 times what gives you 4.5? Well, that's times 4.5. Do the same thing in the bottom. That's going to be 4,500. That's one way you could do this, okay? That's going to give you, so it's going to be right here. So it'd be 4,500. I have the answer right now. Another way you could do this is if I go back to that table, which is totally okay to do. It was 4.5 kilometers, right? Yes. Okay, one thing you could do is I'm going to get my eraser out here, get rid of that, and I'll go back to the pen. We had 4.5 kilometers. They want meters. So remember, there's 1 bump, 2 bumps, 3 bumps. Every bump is a 10. And remember, because we're going down, we have to multiply. So that's like saying 4.5 times 10 times 10 times 10. Another way would be saying 4.5 times 1,000. It's still 4,500. Okay? That's just another way of doing it. One last example I'll show you here is this one must be using something with the ruler. In case you don't know this, remember this is each of these, that's a gap of 1 centimeter. And there are 10 millimeters inside of 1 centimeter. So it's like saying 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. You also could write that like this. You could go 1 centimeter over 10 millimeters. Anyway, we'll move along here. So it says here the diameter of a loonie is 26.5 millimeters. What is the measure in centimeters? Will the number of centimeters be greater or less? Well, everybody, this time, a little bit different. We're going from millimeters and we're going up to centimeters. By now you should know that we're actually going to have less in this case. Okay? And hopefully I can prove that to you here using the math. A couple ways you could do this. I think the easiest way here, gang, is I don't want to get into one of these ratios, is I'm going to take the 26.5 millimeters and I'll go back here for a moment and I'll just show you kind of the way this works out. So 26.5 millimeters is right here. And this time we're going from millimeters to centimeters, which is a bump of 10. But this time we're going up. So what do? That means this time instead of multiplying, we have to divide by 10. So it's going to be 2.65 centimeters. Oops, hit the wrong button on my pen here. That's how you can look at this one, everyone. Does that make sense? This time we were given a smaller unit, trying to go into a larger unit. And remember, when we convert up, we have to divide by how many tens we have. In this case, we only have 1 10. So 26.5 divided by 10. So your answer to this question should be 2.65 centimeters. Here it is also, there's a staircase method, which I really like. We were in millimeters, and we wanted to go up into centimeters, okay? And that helps us understand this. Don't let this confuse you right here. That's kind of a conversion type thing, but don't worry about that. My point is, each of these is a step of 10. How do we go from millimeters to centimeters? Well, we're going up. That's 1 jump of 10, so divide by 10. Hopefully that makes sense. So everyone, in the next couple pages, what's going to happen is you're going to have some practice with converting between various measures. You may really, really want to rely on this table right here. And the best part is eventually you're simply going to know how many, let's say, kilometers are in meters or meters in centimeters, etc., etc. It kind of becomes second nature. Please make sure you're comfortable with that math and give everything a try.